Hello everybody, it is the start of the week and of course I am doing something super duper fun. So now we are going to be making some beautiful diffusers in these. I do have my labels set out. I'm also going to be doing some more of these little cutie ones. These are actually car diffusers and I do have to get some ready because I have my expo this Friday. I have to set up for it, so not very long, but we definitely need to get everything organized. So I thought I'll take you along with me, show you exactly how I make it and the recipe that I use, which is quite simple to be honest. And if I'm going to be really honest, it's actually the labeling and the design that is going to sell your product, because I mean, to me, I'm going to be honest, I think a lot of the diffusers smell sort of very similar when you get them in the shop. A rose smells like rose, lavender like lavender, and so on. I mean, there's a few differences, but I really think that, you know, choosing the right jar, the right labeling and so on can really, you know, make your product just stand out. So anyway, let's get making. So now you can see here I have all of my jars organized, and if you're wondering where I get these jars from, these are actually from Pure Candle Supplies. I buy these ones in bulk and I did actually have another box of them, so I thought, look, I might as well just get these all organized and ready. So I'm going to show you today how I also package them, how I'm making them look gorgeous, and I'm going to show you the recipe. So in here, these are going to be my stickers. We will put them on last. I also have some tiny little stickers and these little ones, which I'll show you how I do those at the end. So let's just move those ones aside and I will show you how we do them. So in here, these are the reed diffusers that I use. So you can buy them in bags of 50 or maybe a few hundred actually, in a few. And I just bundle these up into lots of 6. So I'll show you basically what I do. It's pretty easy. I get the sticky tape. I literally just count 3, 4, 5, 6. And hopefully I can do this with gloves, and I've got gloves on because when you're doing this, the solution is very strong, so you do need to have your doors opened, and you also you know, want to just make sure everything's beautiful. Now actually I'm thinking I'm going to do this, but no, that's going to be a bit tricky, isn't it, because it'll get stuck to my glove. Anyway, I will show you that at the end, I promise. So let's just pop these ones aside. And I actually do have one just here that I've already done. So this is basically what it looks like. I just put a tiny little bit of sticky tape to hold them, and then they're going to go in the box later. So now, before we do anything, we move that aside and let's just get everything organized. So you do need a scale, and on here you can use 20 or 25% fragrance and 75% or whatever the difference is, you know, in your base. So I'm going to use a base from Pure Candle Supplies. It does not smell like chemical. I've used some that are really chemically smelling and they're awful to use, but this one's quite nice. It honestly doesn't smell of really anything. It's the fragrance that's going to sing. So now I'm doing this in mils today because these bottles are in mils. So in here I have, because this is going to be 1000 batch, so in here I've already added in my fragrance, which there's 250 mils of my fragrance. This one is my blend of Blooming Rose, which is several you know, roses together, sort of rosy type scents and floral scents, a tiny bit of orchid in this one as well. And then we are just going to use this base. It's pretty cheap for this particular one, which is 1 litre. I think it's around the $20 mark. So to me, that's pretty cheap. It's not that expensive. I do usually buy them in 5 litres, but I think I actually ran out and I just got this just in case. So anyway, like I said, we are going to be adding in 750 mils of this. So all we're going to do is literally pour this in. It's really easy. It doesn't matter. You can pour it in either way, you know. Don't stress too much. So like I said, 750. And you know, look, you can add, like I said, 20% fragrance if you want. But for me, the 25% works super duper well. So now all we're going to do is literally just get a spatula and stir this up. So we're just literally going to give a little stir Honestly, you can stir it for like 10 seconds. It doesn't need a lot. I just make sure I kind of scrape down the sides and do everything else. Now, if you want to add a colour, you could definitely add a colour into this. I don't colour any of mine at all, but if you wanted to, you could. So now all I'm going to do is just get my jars and pour into them. Now, if you're worried you'll make a mistake, you can get something like this. I got this from a cheapie store from about $3. It's not a normal syringe. It doesn't have a needle or anything on it. So basically you can just use this, suck up the amount that you want and literally pop it into the jar. I don't usually use this, but I'm going to show you just what it's like, just so you can see. So yeah, just dip it in like I've done, and you can see it's in here. Put it in the top, and then basically you're just going to do that until you get the right amount. Each one's roughly about 50, and it just stops it being messy, let's be honest. And I always measure everything out because somebody's paying for this. So to me, they should get what they pay for. So we're just going to make sure they actually get 100 in here. And they do, so let's just pop that one aside. I'm going to be making a couple different ones today as well. And look, sometimes when you put the new jar on, even though they're the same jars, there might be a couple mils of difference, and it might just be, you know, one has a little bit more like glass or something. So I just tear it out after each one. But you can see how easy this is. And like I said, I got this from a little cheapie store that's called U-Mart, where I actually live. But, you know, you could just go to the reject shop. I mean, if you're overseas in the US, I know they have the Dollar Tree, which is basically the same thing. And, yeah, and you can see it's not messy, but you can also use a funnel. So, because if this stuff spills on wood, it actually ruins it. But as many of you know, my studio here is designated only for soaping. There's no kitchen in here. We don't do anything but make soaping sort of products, which is super cool, isn't it? So let me do that one. So that one is fine. So basically what I usually do when I'm doing this, I go along and I usually do like 10 at a time. And basically, once I've done all of those, then I'm going to cap them. Then I just wipe them down, which I will show you my process. And that way it's just nice and easy. These can sit on the shelf for months. You don't need to sell them straight away. It's more of a headache if somebody buys it and you've got to make one. So usually I'll try and make sort of, 10 or something. And I have said this a few times to everybody. I don't sell a lot. I'm not one of these people that sells heaps and heaps of items. Look, I do sell products, but I'm just being honest. I don't really sell heaps and heaps of things. So, and a lot of us on YouTube don't do, $7,000, $10,000 a month or anything like that. Some of us do, but a lot of us don't. Sometimes it can only be a couple $100 a month that we sell. So, we usually make our money, honestly, through you watching us on YouTube, which is rather nice, isn't it? So you don't kind of have to do anything. You can just watch us, and then that does help us out a bit. So, but anyway, like I said, I usually try and do this. And because I've got an expo, which is, an expo is just like a really big event, which they should get probably 10,000 or more people at this expo, I would think. And then basically from that, people just come along and buy what they like. So usually you're going to sell anything from $2,000 to $10,000 a day. Sorry, not a day. That's usually for your 2-day event. So you've got to have a lot of products. So that's why I'm making a lot of these to take along, and I'm pretty sure they'll sell. I've got a really nice setup. I've been working on my new cabinets and setup. Of course, you've got to see what fits in your car, but luckily I do have a fairly new van. My husband bought me a van a few years ago now for a Christmas gift. We knew that we were buying a new car, so kind of wasn't like you know, we're rich and he just bought me a car, because this is the first really brand new car I've ever had. So yeah, so don't think, you know, I got a fancy smancy one for no reason. My other one I'd had for years and it was no good. So anyway, he bought me one. So, and because, you know, I did markets and everything, we said, look, hey, let's just buy a van. And it's coming really handy because my daughter has also used it heaps and heaps of times. So yeah, very, very handy, my loves, if you need something like that. So we will keep going with these ones. And I hope everyone's having a lovely time at the moment. I hope everyone's having a stress-free time, because at the moment, life's been a bit tricky for everybody, hasn't it? With COVID and now post-COVID, now around the world, we seem to be having this whole epidemic of zero money. I've noticed that I've come down to the last bit, so we're just going to pour this bit in. So yeah, I've noticed lots of people don't have a lot of money, which is really, really hard, isn't it? Now, and you can probably see that I spilt some, hence why I usually, you know, pour it through a little funnel. So I'm going to just add a couple more grams into that one, I think. Oh, actually, it's probably okay. Let me just, I can probably scrape a tiny bit more just to fill this one up. Because, like I said, you know, someone's paying for it, so you got to make sure they're getting what they're paying for. All right, so I will fix that one, and now let's get on to the next job. So now we have done that, we are going to cap these up. So I'll show you. So inside my little container here, let me just move that scale out the way. We don't need that. I do have all the little bits. So you've got these little bits here that it comes with, and these are stoppers. So basically, they're not going to just slide in. You really have to force them in. And basically, this is so that you can easily go and send your products through the mail if you like. But do remember, a lot of things like this can't be sent overseas. That's really important to remember. And then we're just going to tie this cap on. So then when the person gets it, they're going to pull the little cap out, put their sticks in, and then tie this back on. So basically that is the whole idea, you know, for these things. And we'll put these on. I'm going to show you how I make my car diffusers as well. Now, I've had lots of different goes at car diffusers, and I'm going to tell you that they're not all the same. You know, a lot of the ones that are really all wooden, or the ones that actually connect, you know, that you sort of get and you actually connect to the car, like to the sort of air vents. Those ones I've not had that much success with, and I've heard a lot of people not happy with them. But the little ones that just hang from the mirror, they're the ones I use. I think, you know, honestly, something like this is going to last about 6 months. But a car diffuser, I think, honestly, maybe 3 months in the car. And remember that when it's hot, that's going to change how everything's going to work as well. So, because, you know, it's going to evaporate more in the heat. And I always do say to people, don't just leave that in the direct sun all day. You know, if it's really hot, because in Australia, you know, we get to like 45 in summer, Celsius sometimes. So, you know, it's super important just to try and do the right thing so that you're not going to damage your car or, you know, anything else. Anyway, we'll put these out the way because now I know these are all my rosy ones. So I'm just going to slide these out the way. We are going to do some car ones. And so I think we've got 10 of those. Yep. So now let's get into some car ones. I'm going to be doing some that I call raspberry musk. Now, raspberry musk is so popular. It's basically like a lollies and black raspberry, but I sell heaps of it every time I get it. I just sell lots. Now, these little ones I'm going to use, these car diffuser ones, these will take about 10 mils. So I fill them right to the top, and I know that that is 10 mils. So all I'm going to be doing with these ones is we are going to do 100-gram batch, because that's going to give me 10 of those. So in a 100-gram batch, we are going to have, you know, a diffuser base. So we're going to have 75 mils of this. So let me pour that in. And like I said, you can do a 20, 70, decide what's right for you. But this is what I personally like. Also, if you're looking for a room spray base, I use the one from Pure Candles. It's very good. I've been really, really happy with it. But, you know, once again, look, honestly, everything just depends on you. Also, when you're using your fragrance oils, make sure you give them a little shake, just so that everything's not settling. And as I said, you know, this is a bit of a mix. So it's mostly raspberry because people seem to love that, and just a tiny bit of the musk one, and I'll move this out the way so I know what I'm doing, and I do have to label a few other things. And then of course, like I said, just give it a little mix. I mean, don't be pedantic, you don't need to freak out and worry too much. So now we're going to move this out the way. We are going to put this on here. Honestly, you don't really need to worry too much about this. And I usually use the same, you know, like you can use the same kind of thing. You don't need to panic too much. Now, look, you can either use this or, you know, another thing that, because that just sort of fits right in there to me. And this is what I like about it. And then, you know, you slowly just kind of squirt it into the bottle. But you can also use just like a little stick. Not a stick, what's it called? I'll show you, I'll get it so that I can actually show you. Because the end of these are really small, so sometimes it is a bit more tricky. So let me get something else and I'll show you. Now, here is what I'm using, one of these. I don't know what they're called, you know, a little piping thing. So you can use this and literally just squirt it in. It is a lot more tedious. It takes a lot longer. But because the end of it's very small, it basically makes no mess. So just depends. Usually, honestly, I do use this one when I'm doing these car ones, but I use the bigger one when I'm actually filling, obviously, you know, the bigger ones up. And I know that once it fills to the neck of this, then that is 10 mils. So this one, I'll just add a weeny few more drops in that we did. And in mine, usually people are going to get more, not less. So I just fill them up. Usually I go around and fill them up. The other ones, no, because we made sure they were 100. Like I said, we did all of that earlier. And it can be like 1 or 2 mils either way. That's just, you know, the law states that you can be within a couple grams. I think it's 2 actually. I think you can be within 2 grams. So basically I do this for all of these. Then the same thing, they have their own little baby cap. And also I poured it in this little glass just to make it easier, because you don't want to be trying to get this whole piping thing into this massive big jug that you've seen that I, you know, poured everything in earlier. Also, you know, make sure you're using a plastic jug, or sorry, a glass or plastic one that can hold this kind of fragrance, because a lot of plastics can't hold this and it will actually start melting it. This is very strong and potent. So it's really important. And can I tell you, everyone, I've done my prices on these. Now I'm telling you, these are not cheap to make. They're really expensive. So generally, just for the jar and all the bits that you need for the jar, that's going to cost you about $2.50. Then you're going to add, and you can see we're adding 25% fragrance, so that's quite a bit of fragrance. And so on. So you can just tell that it's really expensive. Add all your stickers and everything else. Honestly, this is probably going to cost maybe $4 to $5 to make, depending on, you know, your ingredients. And I don't use a cheap fragrance. All my fragrances are a higher blend. They're a little bit more expensive. Some of them are $65 for a bottle. you know, for a 500 ml bottle. So they're definitely not cheap. And like I said, this will cost you a bit of money to actually make this. So please don't go selling this for $6 or anything. I sell these for $15. I don't have a problem selling them either, for anyone that's going to ask. Once again, you know, I've talked about this before, everybody. Just know your worth. There's no good selling something really cheap because your business just won't last. And look, that's the honest truth. You know, it's a terrible fact to admit to, but I see many businesses fail, and a lot of them are when I start seeing them do massive discounts on everything. And I know, because I've done it too when I first started, because you think, oh, if I just put my price really cheap, somebody will buy something, but they actually don't. Usually it works in the opposite. They think, oh, well, why are you selling it cheap? What's wrong with it? And it kind of makes people think a little bit negative towards your business. And for anyone wondering why we're talking about this, having a business really honestly takes about 5 years before you'll be successful. So before doing a business, just ask yourself, can you hold out for 5 years? Because honestly, that's how long it's taken me. It's taken me years to get to this. And I'm still not at a level, you know, that I really want to be. If it wasn't for YouTube or Patreon, I wouldn't earn enough money for a wage. And this is like my full-time job. So not that I take a wage, I still invest all of that into, you know, buying boxes and things like that, because that's all a part of growth. And sometimes, you know, I was watching a show today about a couple companies making it, you know, and they were saying, like, you know, they take $7,000 a month in revenue, and they're only online companies. Seriously, I look at that and go, how can they do it? Like, you know, how do they even get the customers there? Because I don't know. Honestly, I work all the time. I'm an absolute workhorse. I never sit down. And I look at that and think, I don't know how any business can actually do it. Like, I really seriously don't, because there's no way I can do it. I mean, good on them, you know. I really do say good on them, but I honestly don't know how they can do it, because there's no way I can. But anyway, it's interesting, isn't it, when you see these companies, and I just think, you know, and doing very similar things to me, and I just don't understand, you know, why I'm not selling like they are. I question myself all the time. So, you know, I'm sure all of you do the same. Me, I do exactly the same as well. You know, we all do. Now, can you see this tiny little cap? I'll pop that on. And now look, I'm going to say this again. I've said this in numerous videos. I bite my nails. I have bitten my nails through anxiety since I was 2 years old. And I have had a few little trolls, you know, send me a message. Oh my God, your nails are terrible, that kind of thing. And I was like, wow. Very superficial, isn't it? But I thought, well, there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, you know, like I said, I bit them since I was 2, since I was a child. My dad was a nail biter too, so I don't know whether I copied him or what. But anyway, so if you see my nails, I don't try and hide that. I mean, you know, I'm trying to promote body positivity, you know, some self-care about yourself. So, and, you know, if anyone says things like that, honestly, I remove them. Every week I go through all the comments and remove them. So I thought I'd add that in if anyone else is having any issues, you know. And look, also, we've got to remember, sometimes when people are trolling us, that doesn't mean they're bad. Sometimes they might have a mental health problem as well. That's really important to remember. And that's been a learning curve for me to think of that, because I never thought of that before, but it's very true. Anyway, we have done those ones now. So now let me get the labels. I'm going to show you all how I do the next bit. Now, before we do them, usually what I do is I just get like, this is just like a wet one. I wipe this one down, and I just wipe down all the products because they could have oil residue on them. The sticker's not going to stick if they've sort of got oil or, you know, anything on them. I mean, these ones are pretty good. but I do know that sometimes these little glass ones, they won't hold very well if I don't do them the right way. So I usually just do this. And now these do have, you know, a little thing to go on the top of them. So let me just put these here. Usually I do get these ones stamped with my logo on, but I haven't had time to get the new ones done because I'm sold out of nearly all the old ones. So basically all I do is then once you've done that, you're going to just, you know, put this on, put it on nice and tight. And now this is what I do. So I'm going to take this off. Here I have my little stickers which have all the information that I need to put on them. And then I just, you know, so basically one side's information, the other side's the tag to say what it is. I just do a little hole punch. And then I just put this through here. Because people are going to take this apart and then they can actually do whatever they want in the car. They can make these small, like longer or shorter depending on their car. And then I just literally push it like that. So, like I said, these ones are the raspberry musk. Now, underneath here, I do have these stickers that I've printed out on my Cricut using the labels I'm actually using are clear. I got these from Spotlight and these are 2.5 centimeter round. So hopefully, let me click the light. So hopefully you can see. I mean, it's getting dark because it's nighttime, but anyway, I'm hoping you can see that. So yeah, it looks really, really sweet. And then basically I'm just going to hang them up. They'll just be hung up. So that's how I do those ones. Now let me show you the next ones that we have just done. So we'll do the blooming rose. So as we said, these are blooming rose. These are my stickers. I print these once again on Cricut. Sometimes I do get things printed out. I've started using Long Story Short. They've been really good. I've wrapped with what I got before. I definitely need to go back to them, but you know, I don't have time for at the moment with what I'm doing for this. Now, you do need to put a sticker on the bottom. You can actually buy diffuser stickers from many suppliers. I do have some, so I'm just going to put that on the bottom, and then we're going to box the rest of this up. So these are the diffuser stickers. They just go on the bottom. You just can put them on there. You can make your own ones up, whatever you like. Now, I also have had my boxes made up. So these are my professional boxes. These were the first boxes I had made up. They're so pretty. So don't they look gorgeous? And pretty much it's just a box, if you can see inside. I don't have like anything fancy on this box, and they click into place. Then basically this is just going to sit into the bottom. So if you can kind of see in there, it just sits flat on the bottom. And we'll move that one aside a bit. Then, like I said, we are going to get our little, you know, wood pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't need to put 6. You might want to put 4 if you've got a really small diffuser. But I just think 6 is pretty standard. I've seen diffusers actually that hold that have 10 sticks, but I don't. I actually bought a diffuser. That bit of stick is not long enough. I bought a diffuser a while ago that cost me almost $100 from Adairs. I think it was $89 or something. And I think it came with 12 sticks, and I thought that was a bit strange, but it was a big diffuser. Anyway, so that's it. I just literally just sit that into the box with the product. And so basically that's it. And then we're going to seal the box up, and then it is ready to go on the shelf. So this is my box with all the information, the warnings, and so on. So I'm going to keep going with this. I will bring you back when I finish, just to show you everything that we have been up to today, because I do also have to label these ones, which are so I have some vanilla wood. Then I also have these ones here, which are my lavender ylang ones as well, and all the raspberry ones. So let's get going and finish this one off.